Okay, let's dive right into this fascinating explainer. Today, we're unpacking how generative AI is fundamentally rewiring the very nature of how we work. Now, we hear a lot about artificial intelligence boosting productivity, right? But today, we're looking at something much deeper. We're looking at how it actually changes the exact day-to-day tasks we spend our time on. If you've ever felt totally bogged down by emails, meetings, and just managing other people when all you really want to do is the core work you were actually hired for, well, you are definitely going to want to pay close attention to this. Setting a quick roadmap for us today. We'll start with the AI revolution, move into the GitHub natural experiment, analyze why we're seeing more coding and less managing, explore the new shift toward independence, and finish up with how this is actually flattening the corporate hierarchy.
All right, Section 1, the generative AI revolution and the linchpin problem.
To kick things off, we really need to address a massive, universal workplace frustration known as the linchpin problem. So the crux of this is that as these linchpin workers become more successful and vital to an organization, they just end up drowning in project management tasks instead of practicing their actual craft. You know the old saying, right? The reward for good work is more work. But in the knowledge economy, the reward for doing great core work is literally being punished with more administrative busy work. You do an amazing job writing code or designing graphics or researching, and suddenly, bam, your entire calendar is booked with meetings just to review other people's work. To put that into perspective, in our specific context today, which is open source software development, the baseline data is staggering. Before AI was introduced, top developers were spending 44% of their time coding, but a massive 37% of their time just managing projects. Think about that for a second. These are some of the most brilliant minds building the digital infrastructure of our modern economy, and they're spending well over a third of their entire day on administrative busy work.
Moving on to Section 2, the GitHub natural experiment.
To figure out if artificial intelligence could actually fix this broken dynamic, a powerhouse team of researchers from Harvard Business School, Microsoft, and GitHub looked at the world's largest open-source software hub. They seized this incredibly rare opportunity to track highly granular work activities across millions of observations over a 2-year period. It's essentially a perfect window into human behavior because they could track exact, time-stamped actions like submitting new code, organizing bug reports, and interacting with peers. So how did they do it? Well, by quietly granting free access to a generative AI coding tool, GitHub Copilot, for specific top developers below a hidden ranking threshold, they effectively created a flawless natural experiment right out in the wild. Some developers randomly fell into the eligibility bracket for free AI access, while others just above that hidden threshold didn't. This gave the researchers a pristine control group and a treatment group to compare. By contrasting that control group with the AI adopters, the dramatic evolution of a knowledge worker's day becomes crystal clear. It's night and day. We move from a before AI state, which is full of high project management and severe collaboration friction, to an after AI reality of high core work and a highly elevated independent focus. But let's get into the exact numbers here, because they're really something else.
Section 3, more coding, less managing.
Let's dive into the actual data to see how this new technology fundamentally reallocated their daily tasks. Right at that exact threshold where developers cross into the territory of getting free AI access, the shift is undeniable. The share of time spent doing actual core work, the coding, literally spikes upward the exact moment the AI becomes available. That upward spike translates to an incredible 12.4% relative increase in core coding tasks for those AI adopters. Basically, the generative AI starts acting like a digital assistant. It answers questions, writes standard, repetitive chunks of text, and absolutely frees these developers up to immerse themselves back into the actual creative process. But you've got to see what happens on the flip side. At that very same AI eligibility threshold, project management activities completely drop off a cliff. The data shows that AI users spent roughly 25% less time on managerial burdens, like triaging issues or reviewing other people's work. Literally a quarter of that administrative friction just vanished. The AI is essentially absorbing the busy work that used to eat up their entire day.
Which brings us to Section 4, independence and exploration.
This is where we uncover how generative AI is entirely reshaping human interaction in the workplace. So, I want to pose a question to you here. If we are coding more and naturally producing more output, does that mean we are collaborating more? You'd probably guess that more output means more teamwork, right? Actually, no. The reality is quite the opposite. Because generative AI eliminates the constant communicative friction of waiting on other people,
Workers can unilaterally solve problems and tackle complex tasks entirely on their own. They're closing issues faster, alone. They're relying way less on peer code reviews because, well, the AI acts as a sounding board. They're completely bypassing the need to assign issues to others. When you give people an instant answering AI assistant, they simply don't need to tap their coworkers on the shoulder quite as often. And the resulting shift here is absolutely staggering. We're talking about a 79% drop in distinct collaborators. This proves that AI is effectively substituting for the human capital previously required in these interactions. The baseline for top developers used to be working with 22 distinct peers, but for the AI adopters, that plummeted to just 5 peers. You are basically trading those human coordination delays for instant AI-driven collaboration. So what do they do with all this newfound independence? Well, freed from all that managerial bloat, workers use their extra time to explore entirely new projects and learn new skills rather than just exploiting what they already know. We see a massive 62.3% increase in engaging with new repositories, essentially new project folders, and a nearly 22% increase in utilizing brand new programming languages. Meanwhile, exploiting old, familiar repositories dropped by 12%. The cost of experimentation has dropped so much that people are spreading their wings and truly innovating. Finally, Section 5, flattening the hierarchy. Let's zoom out for a second and look at what this profound shift means for organizational structures and the wider economy. The data proves that lower ability developers actually experience the largest shifts toward core work. This means AI helps level the playing field across the entire workforce. If you're a junior developer, the AI boosts your capabilities significantly more than it boosts a senior architect. It is, without a doubt, the ultimate skill leveler. Now, I know what you might be thinking. There's a common fear out there that all this fast, highly independent, AI-generated work is going to completely degrade project quality and security. But let's look at the reality. The evidence shows that repository security actually improved significantly. Critical security vulnerabilities dropped by almost 34%. So not only are people working faster and more independently, but their actual output is safer. To sum that all up, this quote from the researchers hits the nail on the head. When hands-on managers can rely on AI to handle the administrative busywork, they can reconnect with their core craft, which effectively flattens traditional corporate structures. Think about it. If junior staff can complete really complex tasks using AI, and senior staff don't have to spend their entire day managing those junior staff, well, the strict hierarchical pyramid of a traditional company naturally starts to compress. And the economic impact of all this, it's absolutely massive. Because this tool encourages developers to experiment with new, higher-paying programming languages, it unlocks an estimated $468 million of value for the labor market annually. Nearly $500 million. And remember, that's just a calculation for this specific developer community. Just imagine extrapolating that across the entire global knowledge economy. So the final thought I'll leave you with today is this. How will generative AI flatten your organization's hierarchy and empower you to finally return to your core work? Are you ready to let AI handle the management so you can get back to creating? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep that curiosity alive.